राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारी यमुनतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा कलचंदी राधा कलचंदी श्री राधे जय गौरनीताय 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 जय गौरनीताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल जय 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 ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय समवेद भक्तवृंद की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga all glories to the Prabhupada ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva for the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and all other cowherd men of Vrindavana, the enlivener of the cows and the senses. Kandrashima Bhagavatam ki jai. Okay. Let's quickly do the Mangalacharan and we can get started with the verse. Om Ajnanathimiranthasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dhinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Good morning, everybody. So, you're all from the Krishna house, right? So, um, what are your names? I'd like to just do a quick round of introduction before I get started. There you go. Jane Lee, okay. Tilatarani, Sumedavi, Janaki, okay. Haribol to all of you. I've heard so much about you, but I'm meeting some of you very first time in person. So today we'll be discussing Srimad Bhagavatam from Canto 2, Chapter 4, titled Creation, from verse number 11 to verse number 24, with a focus on verse number 11. So let's go ahead and recite the verse. Shri Sutta Uvacha. Please repeat it to me. Ityupa mantrito ragna gunanu khatane hare rishikesham anusmritya prativaktum prachakrame ityupa mantrito ragna Gunanu khatane hare Rishikesham manusmritya Prativaktum prachakrame Ityupamantito ragna Gunanu khatane hare Rishikesham manusmritya Prativaktum prachakrame. Would any of you like to try reading out? Tovacha. Amantito ragna Gunanu katane hare Rishikesham manusmritya Prativaktum prachakrame Sito vacha Ityupamantito ragna Gunanu khatane hare Rishikesham manusmritya Prativaktum prachakrame. Haribol. Sutta Vacha. Sutta Goswami said, Iti, thus, Upamantrita, being requested, Ragna, by the king, Gunanu Katane, in describing the transcendental attributes of the Lord. Hare, of the personality of Godhead. Rishikesham, the master of the senses. Anusmritya, properly remembering. Prativaktum, just a reply. Prachakrame, executed the preliminaries. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Now, Sutta Goswami said, when Sukadeva Goswami was thus requested by the king to describe the creative energy of the personality of Godhead, he then systematically remembered the master of senses, Sri Krishna, and to reply properly he spoke thus. Now, purport. The devotees of the Lord, while delivering speeches and describing the transcendental attributes of the Lord, do not think that they can do anything independently. They think that they can speak only what they are induced to speak by the Supreme Lord, the master of the senses. The senses of the individual being are not his own. the devotee knows that such senses belong to the Supreme Lord and that they can be properly used when they are employed for the service of the Lord. The senses are instruments and elements are ingredients, and all endowed by the Lord. Therefore, whatever an individual can do, speak, see, etc., is under the direction of the Lord only. The Bhagavad Gita 15.15 confirms this. Sarvasya chahum pratisannivishto mattasmritir jnanabapohanam cha. No one is free to act freely and independently, and as such, one should always seek the permission of the Lord to act or eat or speak. And by the blessing of the Lord, everything done by a devotee is beyond the principles of the four defects typical of the conditioned soul. Okay. So this question is an answer to another question that's been posed in the Bhagavatam. Does anybody remember what that question was from the previous class? Hint, chapter 4, title creation. So, 6 questions. That is a lead up to this, right? Definitely. But incarnations related to creation, true, definitely. But there's 2 texts within this chapter that Parikshit Maharaj specifically asked Sukadeva Goswami, and that's where the answer is being told for this question. So this comes from text 6 and text 7. I'll just read the translations really quick for everyone to know. I beg to know from you how the personality of Godhead, by his personal energies, creates these phenomenal universes as they are, which are inconceivable even to the great demigods. Right? Kindly describe how the Supreme Lord, who is all-powerful, engages his different energies and different expansions in maintaining and again winding up the phenomenal world in the sporting spirit of a player. So Parikshit Maharaj is requesting Sukadeva Goswami to speak on the creation and how the creation happens. It's a very interesting question, right? We all want to know why we're here and how it all happened, right? Is the Big Bang Theory really real, right? Or is this all just an act of randomness, or is there some planning that goes by a perfect planner? Right? So it's something we want to ponder upon, and here Sukadeva Goswami answers this question as narrated by Sutta Goswami. So, when coming to the purport of this verse, right, it said that the devotees of the Lord, while delivering speeches and describing the transcendental attributes of the Lord, do not think that they can do anything independently. They think that they can speak only what they're induced to speak by the Supreme Lord, the master of the senses. Now, it should be noted here that it says the master of the senses. It refers to the Lord not as the most powerful, not the most wealthy, but the master of the senses. One question we can ask is why, right? Why is it referring to Krishna here as a master of senses? Any guesses? Any takers? You can speak out on the mic.
My guess is that he's not trying to serve his senses. He's not desiring anything. He already is fully satisfied in his senses, so he's fully control of them.
Good guess. Yep. Going close, but there's another reason. Any other guesses before we discuss the actual reason? Okay, that's fine. No worries. No pressure. So Krishna is known as the master of the senses, which means that he can control our senses. Right? So when somebody takes shelter of the Lord, he himself, when we say, Krishna, I am yours, what it means to say that is the fact that he is regulating our senses. He is in control of whatever we're doing. So when Sutta Goswami is taking shelter of the Lord, when he's saying all of these prayers, what he's referring to the fact that he doesn't want to say anything through his own mental concoction. He wants to be empowered by the Lord directly by controlling his senses through the mercy of the Lord to be able to speak the following verses. That's why he's referred to as a master of senses here. And one question we might want to ask is, why not us? Right? Why do we want to depend on Krishna only? Right? When we're trying to speak anything, any transcendental knowledge, or for that matter, even do anything in this world, any activity. Why do we want to depend on Krishna? The reason for this is because we are imperfect as people. We're subject to 4 defects. Anybody know what these defects are? Cheating is one of them, for sure, yeah. Illusion, okay. So, which one, Prabhu? Cheating propensity, definitely, that's one of them, right. Imperfect senses, and yep, I think we covered all of them, right? Oh, we missed one. Tendency to commit mistakes, right? So we have 4. Imperfect senses, tendency to be illusioned, tendency to commit mistakes, and cheating propensity. So now these 4 things prevents us from actually knowing anything truthfully. And the way this happens is because if we have imperfect senses, the way we perceive anything in this world is through our senses. When we want to see something, we see it through our eyes. When we hear something, we hear them through our ears. So if I put a pencil in a glass of water, is the pencil actually bent? No, but it appears bent because of refraction, right? So the pencil is not actually bent, but we're being illusioned because of our imperfect senses, which are the eyes, that the pencil is bent. Similarly, if you look at a very far distance on a hot summer day, what do you see? Do you see water? Okay. You do, but is the water really existent? No, it's a mirage, right? So our eyes are seeing something that doesn't exist. And also, in terms of the solar system, there are so many stars, so many planets that are around us. We're not able to see hardly anything. If you look out during the day, you can't see anything other than the sun. And at night, maybe, a couple of stars here and there. Right? But we're not able to see, the galaxy, the universe, how Saturn looks like without a telescope. We're having to use instruments to be able to see everything properly, which indicates that our senses are imperfect. Similarly with hearing as well. We have ultrasonic sound, infrasonic sound. There are waves of sound you can't hear, right? When you blow a whistle for dogs and everything, right? They tend to run away and they tend to be disturbed, but we can't hear a single thing because our limited hearing range is also from 20 to 20 kilohertz. So we're very limited in terms of our perception of things. Right? And as I mentioned, we have a tendency to be illusioned by these senses, not because we can try our best, but we can't really know everything to perfection because we ourselves are imperfect in trying to understand the way we perceive things. So we're illusioned that way. And because we're illusioned, what happens? We commit mistakes. Right? The value of the Hubble constant, which is one of the really important constants in science, it was changed so many times before scientists had actually arrived at the proper conclusion. And during the bubonic plague, right, there was the rats were the actual cause of the plague, but people thought cats were the cause of the plague. So they started killing the cats, and the rats multiplied, and it became worse. So we have a tendency to commit mistakes because of our imperfect senses and our poor fund of observation. And lastly, because we tend to commit mistakes, what happens? Cheating propensity, right? So we do something. How many of us tried to say something is right even though we know we're wrong? So many times, right? It's a matter of our ego, our pride. When we go in front of somebody, when they're arguing, at one point we know that we're wrong. But sometimes you tend to argue further, like, no, I'm right. And many times as well, in terms of the human evolution, scientists came up with many theories in terms of how humans have evolved. Australopithecine, Homo erectus. There are many different types of human species that they say how humans evolved. But actually, many of these theories have been found to be hoaxes. Some of them were taking ape skulls, boar skulls, actually, when they passed away, and they're, sawing it to look like a human being, saying the human being evolved from the past. So, there's cheating propensity. We see all of these 4 defects everywhere around us today. And for that reason, our senses are imperfect. Another example of such is, we have, there's so many diseases around the world, right? And coronavirus is one of them that really affected our society, for really a long period of time and really intensely, right? But scientists were working very hard. In the U.S. there was an Operation Warp Speed, where they tried to develop a vaccine for this disease. Now, they tried to develop a vaccine, and we were able to be vaccinated, which solved the problem. But one question we can ask ourselves: were they able to eliminate disease altogether? If there's so many variations, there's so many diseases that come tomorrow, right? do we have a solution for disease itself? We don't. Similarly, birth, death, old age, and disease, right? So scientists have found stop and gap solutions. If somebody has wrinkles on their body, they give them facelift, they can cover themselves with makeup and whatever, right? But at the end of the day, can they prevent somebody from becoming old? No. That's basically the universal, principle in which how life goes. Ashashvatam dukkhalayam. This is a world full of, it's temporary and it's full of misery. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? And scientists found stop and gap solutions, but they're not able to eliminate these problems. Can you eliminate birth altogether? No. Can you eliminate disease altogether? No. Old age? No. Death? No. So we know that, so when all of this actually exists and we're subject to this many defects, we can also assert the fact that we can refer to the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanu darshanam. Right? Birth, old age, disease, death, right? They are the manifestations, right, of our sins. That's what Krishna says. Right? So our senses are imperfect, and the Lord is perfect. So what do? We need to depend on the Lord to gain perfect knowledge. And there's 3 types of ways of gaining knowledge. Do we know what they are? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Shabda, Pratyaksha, and Anuman.
Yep. And what is the little English translation of each?
So, Shabda means you hear from an authority who knows, and then I believe Pratyaksha means you see it with your senses, or you understand it through your senses, and then Anuman means like you perceive it. I'm not sure what the word would be, but like you don't see it, but you kind of you infer.
That's right. Definitely. So, as Prabhuji said, we have Pratyaksha, which is our direct sense perception. Now, how many of us agree that this is the right way of learning? No. I raised my hand, I just confuse you. It's not right. And then there's Anuman Praman, guesswork. Right? Darwin's theory of natural selection. He went to the Galapagos Islands, saw birds with different beaks, right? And then concluded that birds have somehow evolved, right? Because of natural selection, competition between each other for food, right? That there's a theory that giraffes, they were the size of deers at one point, and because they couldn't reach their food off the tree, their necks grew longer over a period of time. But one thing we can ask ourselves is, if giraffes are coming from deers, why do deers exist today, right? And also in terms of humans, right? Humans have evolved from apes, people say that, but if humans have evolved from apes, there should be a valid reason why apes should not exist today. Right? But apes exist, humans exist, chimpanzees exist, gorillas exist. So that theory doesn't really add up, does it? Right? But if we look at Shabda Praman, right, there's 2 ways. Let's say, for example, if you want to know who your father is, there's 2 ways of doing it. One way is take DNA samples of every single man in this world, and then find the closest match, which is your dad. Right? Who agrees with me that that's the easiest way to do this thing? No. Right? What's the easiest way to do it? Just go ask your mother, who's your dad, and she'll tell you very easily. You don't need to do anything else. So similarly, that's how Shabda Praman works. So we have bona fide authorities that are coming from 4 different schools, which are sampradayas, which are called sampradayas. Sampradayas are essentially referred to as the equivalent of a university. Right? When you want to become a doctor, you can't just practice being a surgeon. You'll get arrested for doing it. Right? But if you get a degree from an accredited university, you will be a distinguished surgeon and you'll be respected throughout society. Similarly, even in the Vedas, even in Vedic knowledge, similar pattern works. So within the 4 sampradayas, you have 4 principal acharyas, and the knowledge comes down in disciplic succession between one teacher and another by word of mouth. And that's how things will happen. And we come from the Brahma Madhya Gaudiya Sampradaya, which is the knowledge is directly coming from Krishna. So from Krishna, it goes to Brahma. Brahma is the creator. Right? And from Brahma, it comes down to many acharyas in our disciplic succession, like Madhavendra Puri, right? We have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have Srila Prabhupada, and from Srila Prabhupada, we're able to have all of this knowledge that's given to us today, right, through all of these books. So the knowledge that we have in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, is authentic. It is coming from an accredited school of thought. It's coming from an accredited university, which is the Brahma Madhya Gaudiya Sampradaya. So that's with the knowledge that we're coming from. So we are imperfect. We need to gain knowledge, and the best way we can gain knowledge is through reading Srila Prabhupada's books, which we're doing currently. And another aspect that was stressed in this purport was the fact that we need to be able to take the blessings of the Lord before we do any activity, whether material or spiritual, either way. Right? And one thing we've done before the start of this class is the Mangalacharan prayers. Now, if we actually read the translation of some of these things, right, and I'll summarize briefly, right, through these prayers, we have offered our obeisances to Naranarayan Rishi, Mother Saraswati, which is the goddess of learning, Srila Vyasadeva, which is literally incarnation of Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam, right, our spiritual master, the 6 Goswamis, Panchatattva, right, and then Sri Krishna himself, Srimati Radharani, along with all their associates in Sri Lalita, Sri Vishaka, along with all the Vaishnavas that are present in this room. So if you look at the insurance that we have right now for this class, it's amazing, right? We're able to take the blessings of all of these all of these expansions of Krishna and all of these great Vaishnavas to be able to speak, and that's why when we speak, right, we want to speak the words of our acharyas. We don't want to mentally concoct things because that can mislead other people, and that's something we don't want to do. Right, so, and also another reason why we pray Lord Krishna before we do any endeavor. This is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, this shloka. Mantratas tantatas chidram deshakala havastita sarvam karoti nishchidram anu sankirtanam tava. Translation is, there may be discrepancies in pronouncing mantras and observing the regulative principles, and moreover, there may be discrepancies in regard to time, place, person, paraphernalia. But when your Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. And that's why we chant Jai Radha Madhav. That's why we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We chant all these prayers, so that even if we do some mistakes, right, we're under the shelter of the Lord. And even that's in terms of transcendental knowledge, spiritual activity. In every Bhagavatam class, we say all these prayers. But even in our daily life, if you want to go to work, if you want to study, if you want to do anything, right, we need to take shelter of the Lord because we know that we're imperfect. So if we are dovetailing our efforts with the Supreme, then our efforts will not be wasted. Right? So it said in the Bhagavad Gita, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, Tatta Shri Vijayo Bhuta Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will be certainly opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. This is from Sanjaya. So, in any activity that we do, right, most of anything we do in this world is zero. So, if you want to go to work, zero. If you want to study, zero. But all of these activities are adding zeros. But if you do them as is, what is 10 zeros equal to? Zero, right? But praying the Lord and taking the shelter of the Lord and doing things for the pleasure of the Lord and His devotees is like adding a 1 next to all of the zeros. So, we can do our prescribed duty. We should do our prescribed duty. It's very important to do so. And Arjuna did that as well. And it's important to do it for the pleasure of the Lord and for the Lord, as a sacrifice to the Lord. And that's how we'll become successful in this world, in any activity that we do. And the fact that Nityananda Prabhu says in some of the lectures, Krishna, I am yours and you are mine. When we say this statement, there's a lot of gravity to this. When we say that Krishna, I am yours, you are mine, it's basically asserting that I am under your care, your shelter. Please guide me. He's the most perfect authority. So there's nobody else we can depend on, and he's the best person, the most reliable person. Right? If you go to a university, you don't want to ask if you have the professor next to you, why would you ask your fellow students? Right? Why would you ask somebody who doesn't know, who's walking around in campus? Right? you'll definitely go to a professor who knows the subject. So that's basically the theme of verse 1 in terms of that we should dovetail everything towards a complete whole, and the complete whole is Lord himself. So let's read the translation for the next one. Let's see, 2.4.11. Do you guys have access to the verse? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Really? Okay. Yeah, want to read?
Just this text?
Yeah, just the translation.
Shukadev Goswami said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who for the creation of the material world accepts the three modes of nature. He is the complete whole residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable.
Mm-hmm. So, for the creation of the material world, he accepts the three modes of nature. And this is through Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, said in the purport. Now, Brahma is in charge of the mode of passion. There are three modes of material nature. I've just gave you one of them. What are the other two? Do we know? Goodness and ignorance. Perfect. Right. Now, do we know who is presiding over the mode of ignorance? Who's in charge of the mode of ignorance? Lord Shiva, right. He has his third eye. At the end of inhalation, he opens his third eye and everything just goes poof, right? And who is in charge of the mode of goodness? Vishnu, right. And why? Why is it the mode of goodness? Why is Vishnu in charge of the mode of goodness? Because the function of Vishnu is to maintain, right? You can always create and you can destroy, but what's really tough is maintaining. And that's the hardest job. That's for Vishnu. So he accepts the three modes of nature, and he's a complete whole, residing within the body of everybody, and his ways are inconceivable. So the way how creation occurs is that through Mahavishnu is sleeping in the cosmic ocean, and from Mahavishnu, from the pores of his body, comes each and every universe. So this isn't our only universe. There's so many, right? We're only in one part of it, one bubble. So in each bubble, Lord Vishnu expands himself into another Vishnu called Garbhodaksha Vishnu, right? And from that Vishnu's navel comes out Brahma from a stem, right? There's a lotus stem, and from that navel comes Brahma on the top of a lotus flower. And he sits in Satyaloka, which is the world that he's in. Now we are in the middle, right? Somewhere on the stem, right? We're called Bhuloka. So similarly, like this, there's so many other universes in which Vishnu is there, so many bubbles, right? And the best part is, within each universe and within each and every living entity, right, Krishna also expands himself in us, which is in Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, in the form of Paramatma, the super soul. When we do something, right, there's something inside that tells us, this is right, this is wrong. That's the super soul telling us. So that's, he resides in the body of everybody, and his ways are inconceivable. And that's what this shloka goes over. We can go cover the other verses as well. We can read the next translation. Maybe you can read Prabhupada. Yeah, you can just open the translations from that.
I again offer my respectful obeisances unto the form of complete existence and transcendence, who is the liberator of the pious devotees from all distresses and the destroyer of the further advances in atheistic temperament of the non-devotee demons.
Mm-hmm.
For the transcendentalists who are situated in the topmost spiritual perfection, he grants their specific destinations.
Yep. And in this verse, it can be noted that he grants for the transcendentalists, he grants the respective destinations, and he's a liberator of pious devotees. And you also see that he's a destroyer of advances in atheistic temperament, of non-devotee demons. So the Lord does this not because he wants to reward or punish somebody. He's not he's not Hitler, right? He's definitely merciful to each and every living entity. For those who aren't, inclined to serve, right? This is what he does here is for their own benefit. He delivers the pious devotees. That's for their benefit. He also, he destroys the atheistic temperament of non-devotee demons. That's also for their benefit, right? Because the nature of every single soul is to love and serve. If we don't love and serve what we're meant to love and serve, we'll love and serve other things which we're not meant to do. And that will cause us to be unhappy. So, the way we can look at this is that, we have a spiritual identity. We have an identity in the spiritual world. We have a relationship with Krishna. But being in this material world, we have forgotten that due to the influence of Maya, or material energy. Now, when we are being, so we're under the influence of material energy, and when we are able to, when we're not taking up to spirituality, when we're not serving the Lord, we end up serving other things. Right? Let's say, for example, you see so many people going to the bar, drinking, other people, they go to other areas, but you see rich people that are not happy. Right? You see so many people, Michael Jackson, for example, right? Great pop star, had everything. He had a, not a great ending. Right? So there's so many people that, are rich, but they're not happy. There are so many people that are not rich, they're impoverished, but they're very happy. If you look at Vrindavan, right, they don't have, millions of dollars, but they're able to relish happiness in having a cow, a small field, and chanting japa. So quite amazing, isn't it? So money isn't the key to happiness, as we can see it, right? What's really the key is the fact that we're able to serve our true nature, which is serving the Lord. Right? And we can go ahead to the next verse. Go ahead. Yeah.
That's okay. I was just thinking that this verse sounds really intense, but it's basically saying that Krishna, who's all attractive, who's all good, all loving and stuff, is like the supreme kill him with kindness. Like the destroyer of the atheistic temperament. It's like he's basically saying like, I am a person and I'm going to love you until you love me too.
Exactly.
I was appreciating.
That's really wonderful. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. He's very merciful to every living entity. He's like a mother, right? If the child does something, mother's not, she might not be happy, but she always looks for the benefit of the child, right? Whether the consequence of how that happens is different, but what at the end of the day, the duty of every living being is to serve, and at the end of the day, Krishna wants us to be happy too. Right? It's not that we should make sacrifices, be unhappy, you should serve them. It's not that way. The way we can be happy is serving him, and he wants us to be happy, and that's why this is being done. Right? We can read the next translation. Krishna has many intimate relationships with his personal associates, like Arjuna, Mother Yashoda. He's a lover of the gopis. Right? And also, he's a supreme enjoyer. He is in the material and spiritual world. So when he comes to this world, he is not subject to karma, like we are. Right? There's no miseries for him. He's here. He's not part of this world. But he can be in this world if he likes. Right? So he has inconceivable potencies. He can be within and without everything. So for us, it might not be possible to be present in two places at the same time. But we can see an example where he extends himself as Paramatma, as a super soul, and also he's in Goloka Vrindavan, the spiritual world, enjoying his pastimes with gopis, with cowherd boys, and as a son of Mother Yashoda stealing butter, he's having fun. So there's no one equal to him, and his opulences, transcendental opulence, is immeasurable. So do we know the 6 opulences that that Krishna possesses? Beauty, right? That's one of them. Knowledge, right? Fame, yep. love. Beauty, knowledge, sorry? Wealth, got it. Okay. Wealth, yep. Anything else? Renunciation, right. Then we got all 6, right? Wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, renunciation. So these 6 opulences are in full. The definition of Bhagavan is that one who possesses these 6 opulences in full. That's the definition of Bhagavan. If you see any person, they might be beautiful. Albert Einstein does not look the most beautiful to me, but he's very smart, right? There's also Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates is very rich, but at the same time, he might not be the most renunciate, right? He might also, he might not be the most strongest bodybuilder. Right? So you see sparks in everybody, but Krishna possesses all of these in full. So that's why he's Bhagavan, and we're his children. So when a child is born to a parent, they resemble some features of the parent, but they're also, different, right? So similarly, we have sparks, right? We can see the minute sparks in every living entity, but nobody has them in full. Krishna has the complete all 6 opulences in all full. So he's all attractive, and he's the strongest, he's the wealthiest, he's the most famous, right? So there's nothing that can, he's very glorious at the end of the day. So next verse. I can read this one. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrances, audience, prayers, hearing, worship can at once cleanse the effects of sins of the performer. There are 9 modes of worship, 9 processes of devotional service that's being highlighted here. And what some of them are we can actually brainstorm really quick. What do you think some of them are? We have Shravanam, which is hearing. I'll start, and then anybody else? Kirtanam, chanting the holy names. Yep. Vishnu Smaranam, nice. Archanam. Yep. Vandanam, right? Padasevanam, right? Okay. Yeah. Sakyam, right? Dasyam is servant. Atmanivedanam. Perfect. Wow, you guys know you guys know all of them, right? Amazing. So this is referring to the 9 processes of devotional service, and each one is equally potent, right? But if we have to, one thing that's really recommended for this age in Kali Yuga is chanting. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nameva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranya. There's no other way. There's no other way. Chanting the holy name of the Lord is the way to success. Is the way to go back to Godhead. Right? We can see that in here. A second. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yep. I think that's what I wanted to cover here. We can go to the next one. Verse number 16.
Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna. The highly intellectual, simply by surrendering unto his lotus feet, are relieved of all attachments to present and future existences, and without difficulty progress towards spiritual existence.
Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 18, says, "My dear Arjuna, you are very dear to me, and therefore only for your good I will disclose the most secret part of my instructions. It is simply this: become a pure devotee of mine, give yourself up to me. Only I promise you full spiritual existence, by which you may gain the eternal right of transcendental loving service unto me. Just give up all of the ways of religiosity and exclusively surrender unto me, and believe that I will protect you from your sinful acts. I shall deliver you. Do not worry." So, and to those who are constantly devoted to the Lord, to serving Him with love, the Lord says that He gives the understanding by which one can come to Him. So all we need from our part is sincerity. Just the thought matters. If we desire that we want to serve Krishna, that's all that we need. Right? That's the first step to success. And from there, really, it's like a suitcase going on a conveyor belt of the airport. Right? You need to take it to the place where you need to drop the baggage. Once you drop the baggage, you're on the conveyor belt. It'll go to the plane. So the journey is streamlined, but what we need is surrender. Surrender to the Lord, depend on Him, and always offer our homage unto Him. Okay. The next verse. we can read the next three as it straightforward, one after another.
Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna again and again, because the great learned sages and the performers of charity, the great workers of distinction, the great philosophers and mystics, the great chanters of Vedic hymns, and the great followers of Vedic principles cannot achieve any fruitful result without dedication of such great qualities to the service of the Lord.
And one example of this is Arjuna. Right? Arjuna did not fight the war for his kingdom. He did not fight to win over his brothers. He fought because Krishna told him to fight. And that's why he was successful. Any activity that is done should be done with an effort to please Krishna and Guru. And that is what leads to ultimate success. Next one.
Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abhira, Shumba, Yavana, members of the Kasha races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Due to his being the supreme power, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
There are many classes of, let's say, even if somebody may be impure, they may be most sinful. Krishna is antiseptic and prophylactic in terms of Krishna is compared to the sun. If there is some impurity, some trash on the street, that does not affect the sun. Right? If there's urine on the street, for example, that doesn't affect the sun. The sun can clean everything. The sun is all pure. There's nothing that can affect the sun. So when somebody takes shelter of Krishna, regardless of what caste, creed, background, what they have in their past, right? Once they take shelter, they should be considered a devotee. And they are on the right path. Next verse.
He is the super soul and the supreme lord of all self-realized souls. He's the personification of the Vedas, religious scriptures, and austerities. He's worshipped by Lord Brahma and Shiva, and all those who are transcendental to all pretensions. Being so revered with awe and veneration, may that supreme absolute be pleased with me.
Next verse.
May Lord Sri Krishna, who is the worshipable Lord of all devotees, the protector and glory of all the kings, like Andaka and Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty, the husband of all goddesses of fortune, the director of all sacrifices, and therefore the leader of all living entities, the controller of all intelligence, the proprietor of all planets, spiritual and material, and the supreme incarnation on the earth, the supreme all in all, be merciful upon me.
He's the controller of everything. He's the owner of everything. So when we want to be successful at something, who do we need to reach out to?
Krishna.
The absolute authority. Right. Next. I know it's 8:30. We'll just quickly finish up the translations and we'll wrap up.
It is the personality of God, Sri Krishna, who gives liberation. By thinking of his lotus feet at every second, following in the footsteps of authorities, the devotee in trance can see the absolute truth. The learned mental speculators, however, think of him according to their whims. May the Lord be pleased with me.
We've seen the defects, right? Can an ordinary person mentally speculating understand Krishna? No. Only through the Vedas. Only he can speak about himself, right? He knows about himself better than anybody else. And through his instructions, we can learn about him. So, next one.
May the Lord, who in the beginning of the creation amplified the potent knowledge of Brahma from within his heart and inspired him with full knowledge of creation and of his own self, and who appeared to be generated from the mouth of Brahma, be pleased with me.
Okay. Next one.
May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who enlivens the materially created bodies of the elements by lying down within the universe, and who in his Purusha incarnation causes the living being to be subjected to the 16 divisions of material modes, which are his generator, be pleased to decorate my statements.
Last one.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of Vasudeva, who compiled the Vedic literature, scriptures, The pure devotees drink up the nectarian transcendental knowledge, dropping from the lotus-like mouth of the Lord.
Yep, I think that should be it. Right. Now, one thing we could take away is that the Lord is the source of everything. Everything comes from Him, right? And He's full in all six opulences. He's perfect and complete in all respects. In order to understand Him, one must take His blessings, and one should always, be dovetailed with the Supreme Whole. And any activity that we do, we should do it for the pleasure of Krishna, and then all our activities will be successful. Thank you, Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Yeah. Thank you. Panchakapatarubhyascha kripasindubhyo vichapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Bol. Krishna House ki Jai. Yeah. For those who want to, go ahead, Prashadam, go ahead. It's not stopping. Yeah. You have a question, Prabhu?
Not really a question, but I appreciated your point in the beginning explaining Rishikesh. And we often see in verses that, they just address Krishna by different names. I'm kind of just like, oh, okay, Mukunda, whatever. And it's like, I don't really think about why are they calling him that name. And you broke it down so nicely that if we want to understand something, we use the three types of knowledge-gathering things. Except our senses are imperfect, so we should rely on Rishikesh, because he controls the senses. So I just appreciate that point.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, thank you. Very cool. Hare Krishna.